Morning, everybody. Today is actually Thursday, so I'm a day late and $1 short for the Top 5 Wednesday. But I recorded a video on Tuesday. I didn't like it, so I'm going to re-record today before I get into my AuthorTube video. So the topic for yesterday's Top 5 Wednesday, posted in the Goodreads group, which I'll link in the description box below, was books without romance. So basically books that the subplot is not romantic. Like, there might be one or two mentions of a romantic interest, but the romance is not the main topic of the story. So I had to go back through, and you'll see a couple holes in the shelves, and pick out which books I thought went better with this topic than the books that I'd originally picked out. There's two books that I had set off to the side just because, one, it's a nonfiction book and has no romance at all, and I don't really want to talk about it because then I'd have to reread it and whatever. And the other one I've already talked about a lot last week. So these are the top 5 books that I would pick for books without romance. They're not in any particular order, and I'm going to stop rambling and just get to them. So book number 1 is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. This book is what happens when the Antichrist is dismissed or displaced. They have no idea where they place this kid, and the kid actually grows up to be a halfway decent person, has no clue he's the Antichrist at all, and it's a story about that, with an angel who has lost his way, is happy being a bookkeeper, and a demon who is responsible for Eve eating the apple in the Garden of Eden. They basically have to race each other to find this kid, and when they do find this kid, hijinks ensue, and in true Neil Gaiman, Terry Pratchett style, it's a good read. So, books without romance. Unless you count all the shipping that people do on DeviantArt, the whole reason I picked this book up was the ships on DeviantArt between the angel and, I don't remember how you say his name, but the angel and Crowley. Crowley's the only person I remember because his name's easy. Used to be a lot of ships, and I would just, yeah. But no romance in this book, so doesn't really matter. The second one is Dragon Bones by Patricia Briggs. I did not have this book on my original list because I didn't, I guess, read the qualifications very well, but this book has little to no romance at all. I think the love interest that he has in the second book only gets mentioned once or twice, and she gets mentioned in a way that you don't even think that they're gonna, like, there might be something there, but there's not, because that's not the focus of the story. The focus of the story is Ward trying to find the dragon bones and go into a war, and just, it's been a little over 2 years since I read this book, but he's trying to prevent a war and trying to prevent people from going after the dragon bones that are hidden under his family's castle that he actually has no idea about. So this was one of Patricia's first books. I really like this book a lot better than some of the later Mercy Thompson books. But like I said, romance doesn't even get mentioned in this book until the second book, and then the way she writes it in the second book, you're just like, did that really just happen? It's one sentence, 2 sentences long. That's it. So, next book. This book is a nonfiction. When I turned 26, 27, I went to Chicago with a friend of mine. And the reason I went to Chicago is because I wanted to see where the World's Fair, 1893 World's Fair, was done. So, The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson is the story of what was supposed to be the biggest draw to Chicago in the late 1900s. The World's Fair, they'd seen the World's Fair in Paris, and they wanted to outdo that World's Fair with this World's Fair, and just, they kept running into issues. They couldn't build the buildings properly. The buildings that they were building, they couldn't get up fast enough, so because they couldn't get it up fast enough, they ended up circumventing the process and building these really cheap buildings and fires, and then America's first serial killer shows up. So there is no romance in this book unless you want to talk about how H.H. Holmes picked up his victims in a very disturbing fashion. While it focuses more on the building of the 1893 World's Fair, it does talk about what H.H. Holmes did leading up to him being caught, and how many victims and the families that he had, and basically the biggest con artist he was at the time. He wasn't even H.H. Holmes. That wasn't his real name. But no romance, no subplots, good story, one that I need to reread and finish again. I like this book. It actually talks about the founder of the Forest Service and the person that did Central Park and another park. The creator of Central Park created the gardens at the World's Fair. He was very unhappy with the process and how it was going, but he had a trusted opinion, and it talks about real people. It's not, I guess that's the point of nonfiction, is that it talks about real people. So I like this book. Next up is a book that I've actually already mentioned on one of my videos, I want to say my summer to be read list, and that's The Timekeeper by Mitch Albom. While one of the characters' stories focuses on a romance that she was trying to have blossom because she really liked this guy, and the guy kept flirting with her, and when the guy wanted to have relations after getting really, really drunk one night, he just rejects her. Hardcore, to the point she is contemplating suicide because she's just done with it. That's one piece to the story, but the whole story, the reason behind the story doesn't focus on the romance. They focus on time and how people wish for too much, people wish for not enough, people wish for it to go faster, slower, and that's why I put this book on the books with no romance category. And last one kinda is a little bit obvious, but I didn't really have a whole lot of other choices on my bookshelves because apparently I read a lot of romance books, which I didn't really know that, so, or hadn't figured that out yet. This series does not focus on romance until book 4, which I'm currently reading right now. I am at the part where they're just now finding out about the Tri-Wizard tournament. I'm really reading this one kind of slow because I've got other books that I'm working on. But I'm putting the first 3 books in this series on this list because the books focus more on Harry and his relationships with Ron and Hermione as friends, and the different adventures that they encounter with every single year. If you've read the series, you know the adventures, and kind of why I'm putting this on here. Yeah, Ginny likes Harry in this book. Yeah, she's a little awkward, but they don't start forming non-platonic relationships with one another until books 5, 6, and 7. So, first 3 books on this list. With that, those are the top 5 books that I have on my bookshelves. Would love to hear what books you put on your list. Again, links to the Goodreads description Links to the Goodreads group's description is in the description box below. So go check them out. They've got topics every week. Next week's topic is children's books, which I do have, and I actually started that video yesterday, but haven't posted anything yet. So with that, look forward to seeing you guys here in a few more minutes when I do my AuthorTube video. Hope you guys are having a great week, had a safe 4th, and I will talk to you soon.